Hi, good morning. Well, it's just about noon. It's May 31st, 2018. My name is Tom Shaw, and I am a descendant of Edward W. Shaw, and his father, I guess going back before that, John Palmer Shaw. John Palmer Shaw was born in Pennsylvania, and he died there around 1860, 1870, something like that. John Palmer Shaw and his wife Mehetabel, or Hetta or Hetty, they had 10 children. And one of their children, the oldest, was named Edward W. And Edward W. Shaw first left Pennsylvania and moved to Illinois. While he was in Illinois, he met his wife, future wife, Nancy Beebe. And Edward W. and Nancy got married while he was in Illinois. I think it was Stevenson County, Illinois. Sometime in probably the 1880s, 1890s, somewhere in there, Edward and Nancy moved to Humboldt County, Iowa. And that's why we're here today. We're at Union Cemetery in Humboldt, Iowa. Just behind the Union Cemetery sign, you'll see a very large monument there, and that's to the Civil War veterans. One of Edward's brothers, John S. Shaw, he was the second oldest child. He kind of followed along. They kind of traveled together the way I make out, because John S. Shaw ended up in Illinois also, and then moved to Humboldt County. While John was still in Illinois, the Civil War broke out. John Shaw, according to his enlistment records from the state of Illinois, served the entire 4 years in the Civil War. He was attached to a Illinois infantry unit, and I do know, according to his obituary, he fought in the Battle of Shiloh, and I'm sure many other battles as he was in all 4 years. John S. Shaw and a lot of his family are buried here in the cemetery also. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get back in my car. My father, Alan Shaw, is driving, and we're going to drive around, and I want to show you the grave sites of Edward Shaw and the family of John S. Shaw. Okay, before I go any further, I want to say that this is kind of impromptu. I'm just using my cell phone to shoot this video. I really don't have any editing capabilities. I'm going to try to hold the camera as still as I can while I still narrate and go around the gravestones here. You can see there in the overalls is my father, Alan. So I want to start out here. This is the tombstone of Edward W. Shaw. It's hard to read the lettering. He was born here, I believe it was 1831, and died in 1900. According to cemetery records, his wife Nancy is also buried in this family plot, but we have not been able to locate any headstone for her. I don't know if it got broke and it was removed or just what happened, but there's never been a stone for Nancy that we know of. Is that correct, Dad? You've never known a stone for Nancy?
No, none of them. No. There's 12 spots here, and the only stone is my grandma and grandpa's.
Well, and Edward. Yeah, Edward. Okay. So for the descendants of Edward Shaw, And again, Edward Shaw's father was John Palmer Shaw in Pennsylvania. Edward moved here in the 1880s. Edward and his wife Nancy had 9 children. 8 children survived. In the 1900 census, one of the questions that was asked the household is they asked the mothers or the wives how many children they'd given birth to, and Nancy answered 9, and then the question was how many were surviving, and she said 8. All 8 of those children are accounted for on the census reports. So she did give birth to 9 children, and 1 died while an infant. So I'm gonna let my dad explain here real quick. His father, Everett Shaw, was over here and was looking for spaces for himself and his wife, and they figured there wasn't enough plots here because my grandpa Everett had heard that there was an infant buried here, but we don't know of an infant name or anything like that. But I'll let Dad talk about that.
That's the only thing I know is what Dad told me. I have come to this plot here since I was 4 or 5 years old. We used to have to get it mowed all the time, and my grandpa and grandma, when grandpa died, I got a paper to home where she had to pay for this spot, 2 spots to bury John Allen and Emma.
Okay, so we have John Palmer in Pennsylvania. His oldest son, Edward, ended up here in Humboldt County, and his wife, Nancy. So they had 9 children, 8 survived. The very oldest of those children was John Allen Shaw. John Allen Shaw was my father's, who you just saw there. It was my father's grandfather and my great-grandfather. And John Allen was born in 1859 and died in 1909. He married Emma McKittrick. She was born in 1863 and died in 1945. I do know that John Allen died at a very young age. John and Emma only had 1 child, my grandfather Everett. And my grandfather was around 9 years old when that happened. So there's a lot of history here in the city of Humboldt with my great-grandmother Emma and my grandfather Everett and how they made their living. She basically took in wash and did washings and this and that to help support herself and her young son. Okay, these are the only tombstones that I know of and the only burials that I know of in this particular plot, other than the unnamed infant that we believe is buried here. Now I'm going to walk over to another separate Shaw plot. Okay, I've identified my ancestors on the Shaw side as far back as John Palmer Shaw in Pennsylvania, as I said previously. And I said John Palmer and his wife Hedda had 10 children. We just visited the gravesite of my great-great-grandfather. Well, his younger brother, the number 2 child of John Palmer and Hedda, was John S. Shaw. And John S. and Edward, as I said before, kind of left Pennsylvania, went to Illinois, and then ended up here in Humboldt County, Iowa. So I'll go over here.
That's John S.
And this is John S. Shaw, born 1832 and died 1904. And John was Edward's brother. He was married to Anna. It was Anna Anderson. She had been previously married. It's got her date of birth as 1842, but they don't have a date on her death, but I do have that in other records. Anna brought some children into the marriage, and then John and Anna had some children together. This is Desi L. Shaw, and she was the wife of T.L. Mitchell. And there's a whole long history, and I have all of this written down. It's hard to repeat it all right here, but there's a whole history on them. But anyway, she was born in 1877 and died in 1916. Next is Archie Shaw, born 1889, died 1918. We're going to come back to Archie in just a minute, because Archie was actually a grandson of John and Anna. And we'll also have Florence Shaw. Here is the tombstone of Hetty Shaw. Again, I'm doing a lot of this from memory. I'm hoping I'm getting this correctly. But when I first started doing this family research, I couldn't figure out who Hetty was, or Hedda. Another one of Edward W.'s sons was named Sam. And it turns out that Sam and Hedda married, and they were first cousins. And they had 3 children. One of them was a boy named Archie. And that, we'll go back to this one here. So Archie was the son of Hetty and Samuel Shaw. Sam being a son of Edward W. Shaw. Excuse me. Hetty died, and I can't read it here, but I believe it was 1899 or somewhere in there, and I believe it was from consumption. After she died, for whatever reason, Sam left Iowa and went to Nebraska. Or so it is said, he went to Nebraska. The one child, Archie, was raised by John and Anna Shaw, and the 2 girls were raised by Edward and Nancy. Though there's not a stone there, according to cemetery records, I believe Samuel is buried in with the John Shaw family plot. Folks, this is all I'm going to talk about today. Again, I don't know how good a quality this will be. This is kind of a trial run to see how it works out. I'd appreciate hearing from anybody that sees this. See if you like it, if it's informative, or anything I can do better. My email address is tomshawiowa@gmail.com. So that's TOMSHAWIOWA@gmail.com. Thank you.